Hi guys, I'm back with another solution. It's for the second problem, the 2008 qualification round train timetable. It's basically you're dealing with time, so it's a bit tricky. But once you figure out how to handle the time, you're done. I believe, but it's very tricky, and there's even a time. The time limit is very short. I solved the first test, but for the large set, I was getting a time limit exceeded error. I had to change my whole logic flow another time. But I was able to do it. So now let's look at the problem. So a train, there's a train line, two stations A and B. They can take trips from A to B, B to A, multiple times during the day. So if a train goes from A to B, it reaches B at let's say 12 o'clock, and there is a turnaround time for the train to turn back towards B. It's always in minutes. It's between 0 to 60 minutes for the largest set. So that turnaround time has to be added to the arrival time. So if no, the train reaches A at 12 o'clock. Let's say the turnaround time is 25 minutes. So then you say, okay, yeah, the train is ready to leave for B at 12:25. So let's say if there is in if and after 12:25 there are any trips from A to B, it can make that trip for B. So that's the problem in this, and you have to output. You'll be given a data set. There'll be 100 test cases with more than 100 trains, 200 trains each. You have to find out how many trains are needed. So basically, you're finding out maximum efficiency. Again, I think even the previous problem was about efficiency. So let's look at the inputs. So the first line is n number of test cases. Then we have the turnaround time. For each test case, the turnaround time is different. And the next line you have the size or the number of trips for A from A to B and from B to A. And then you have so if NA is number of trips from A, you have NA lines of the time departure and arrival times. So the first field will be the departure time, and the second will be the arrival. After NA lines, you have NB lines in the same format. And since this is, it's got the semicolon in between, it's going to be in string format. You have to handle it in string before you can do anything with it. So first, I was using floating point integers to try and solve it. That's when I ran into you know, the time limit exceeded error for the second set. So you're supposed to get it done in 30 seconds. So that's I think the largest set they have is 100 test cases with 200 trains. So that's 2 lakh trains you have to filter through. And to do that in 30 seconds, your code has to be that good. So mine wasn't at the beginning, not for that large data set. So then I had to go back and redo the whole thing. So like I said, the first time I was handling floating point integers. If you see, I had vector float with a couple of for holding the arrival times, departure times for each station. But the logic is the same. The only difference is now uh, I did it in a much better way. It's much more efficient. Actually, what I did is I took in the strings. So one sec. So this is the main. I take in the number of test cases and I run solve for each test case. And in solve, I take in the input for the turnaround time, the number of trips from A, number of trips from B, and I have a global vector here, uh, you know, of int value. If you notice now, it's no longer float. I'm using integer. This is a departure from A, arrival at A, departure from B, arrival at B, and this is the turnaround time. Even turnaround time, I'm just taking it as the I'm also having it on as a global integer because I don't want to keep passing it into these functions. I'll get to these functions later. And this is it's the main reason why I have this here as well. for these functions. It's just for these two functions. Actually, they're you don't want to have the same code again and again inside here in the loop. Now, yeah. So for no, so NA can be zero, NB can also be zero. So check for that. If it isn't zero, take in the input. Since you have NA and BT, you're taking turnaround time. You set it to the global turn, and then after that, you start with the inputs for NA and B. Like I said, NA should be greater than zero. Take it, and for the same NB. So what I'm doing is I take in this part of the, what is it? What was I talking about? Yeah, so talking about this input. So that's I'm taking the departure time and the arrival time. What happens is it takes in this string separately first, and then it takes in this string. So this goes to D, this goes to A, and it just keeps happening for the rest. This is the second test case. So once we get these values, uh, it's very basic logic if you think about it. If there are no, if one of these is zero, then you need all the trains to make the trip from B to A, because there is no train returning from one station to the other to make a second trip. So right off the bat, you can say C out, the case, this is the format for the output. You say, for this case, you're just going to output the lengths back because one of them is zero and the other one, you need all the trains to make the trip from that station to the other. And we just return, we exit the loop since it's void. Just have an empty return there and it exits the loop. I think, you already know that. Now, if it's not zero and if there's even, if it has even just one train, you have to continue with the rest of the logic. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lengths is number one, number two. This is the number I'm going to be outputting in the end. It's the number of trains I need from A, and this number of trains I need from B. And I sort all of our integer arrays in integer arrays over here, vectors, sorry, integer vectors in the ascending order. So I have the least in the least time in the as the first spot in the stack order. I guess it's on the end. No, it's in the beginning. Sorry, and the max I have at the end. And actually, I didn't show you what's going on in A push and B push. Let me just get to A push. So I'm going to be passing in the two time strings, departure and arrival. I have two integers. I'm going to take the hours and minutes separately in A and B. So A is going to take the hour. So it's HHMM format. So this is going to take HH and B is going to take MM. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert HH into minutes. So this is, when you multiply by 60, it converts to minutes. And then I add the MM part of it to it. So now the entire time is in minutes. I know it's not the right way, but it's the best way to do this. There's no better way. This is, since Google, all these coding competitions are about the best way to get the answer. And this is the best way to get this answer. And then you push it into the departure from A vector. And since it's a departure time, you do not add the turnaround. The turnaround is when you reach a station. See, when train arrives at B from A, it needs certain amount of time before it is ready to take the return journey. This is the turnaround time. So, for example, if train leaves at 12 and the turnaround time is 0 minutes, it can leave immediately at 12. Okay. And the next one is the arrival time. So here I'm again taking in the HH in A, MM in B. I convert the hours into minutes. And here, now while adding the MM, the minutes back to the hours, I add the turn time. So now this is where you have to add it, and I push it into the arrival at A. Sorry, AA. That's arrival from A to B. This is the time it arrives at B, AA. And same thing is happening in B, only the vectors are different. I decided it was better to have a separate function rather than go with if and else conditions. Okay, now coming back, yeah. So once I have the vectors set up, I sort them in the ascending order, and then it's a very simple loop. So for you know, you're just gonna have to check that if for any of the you have the departure from A, what you have to check is if any of the arrivals are happening before the departures. So if it's happening before a departure, that's why it's very important to sort it in the ascending array, ascending order, because once you have it in that order, you don't have the, let's say we in the first, because the schedule, if you notice, the inputs are very random. So it's one train, the train that leaves at 9 is going to reach at 12, but a train that's going to leave at 9 can also reach at 10:30. So the arrival times are just randomly organized, and they can be in that order. So when you check if one is less than the other, there might actually be a lesser value much ahead in the vector. You're doing the wrong calculation. That's why it's very important to have it in this order. So once you have it in that order, the second it hits a value greater, just greater, you can be sure that there's no other value that's going to be below this. And you just go in, since you stored this as, since this is the initial, this is the maximum number of trains that it can have, right? And you're going to say, oh, okay, since I can use this train again, I can subtract one from this. That's why I do the number one minus minus. And then I just send here. If you notice, I'm setting this value b of a. So this is the departure from a, and this is the arrival from b. Departure from a, if it's happening after the arrival from b, that means I can use that train from a to b to go from a to b again. And so I subtracted from the end number one the output I'm going to give, and I set b a of j to the highest value possible. That's the 24-hour mark. When you convert it to minutes, it's going to be this value, and there's no none of the values in this vector is ever going to reach this value, because the max time we can have is 23:59, and they very specifically say that all trips happen in the same day. So there's no trip that's going to extend into the second day. So that we can very confidently add this as the highest value. It was actually since I rewrote the code to for the larger set, I kept getting the wrong answers, because in the previous code I had the largest value as 50, because it's only 24 or 23:59. I was using floating points, and I just gave a random value 50, because it would never reach this value. It's like a positive infinity. It's never going to reach this value. So here, but 50, it was 50 here. When I just copy paste, I told you it's the same logic. So when I copy pasted, it was just 50, and I just kept wondering why I'm getting the error. So you have to be very careful with these. When you start rewriting code, the logic is right. You're just not sure where it's going wrong. Just look at everything. So I have the 1440, like I said, it's the max value. No one can reach this value. The max value is actually, I guess, 13:59. No one's going to reach 1440. And it can be greater than, see, look at this, it can also be equal to, because they say here, if the turnaround time is 0 minutes, and if train reaches at 12 and the next train has to leave at 12, it can immediately leave at 12. So greater than or equal to, and same case here, less than or equal to. For the next loop, it's the same thing. I'm checking if departure from b happens, if any departure from b happens after the arrival from a, and I subtract it from the second output, and I give the max value again to the arrival from A, so that you know nothing in no departure in B is going to be greater than this uh, array this value again. If we keep the same value here, why do we change it? If we keep the same value here, in the next loop, that value is going to come up again, and you might end up reusing that train for another, but that train is actually left the station. It's not really there, so you have to reuse it. I mean, you have to make sure that this is always going to negate to false the next time it's run, and this is the best way to do it. Many people will try to remove it or splice it from the vector. That's just waste of time. Like I said, 30 seconds to sort through 2.5 lakh trains. So splicing it from the vector is it's a huge process. It's a very costly process. It can take quite a large number of seconds. So it's not worth it. This is what you need to be doing. Then you just output number one, number two. So okay, actually, I just realized how. Okay, so this copy, I'll show you. I'll run it once. See, it took me quite a while. Like I said, I just kept getting this error. I didn't know what was going wrong. I rewrote it. Finally, I got it. So I pasted the code, submit, and now it's just going to get over pretty fast. All right. So once I did this, I was just checking if there are other solutions for this problem on the net, and I couldn't find any. I actually found some people asking for this solution on Stack Overflow. So I'm going to be. I think I'll be giving him the solution here. It's actually very recent, 12 days ago. People are actually looking into this. So it makes me believe that what I'm doing right now can actually help people. 12 days ago, someone else has taken interest in this. So that's a good sign. So next problem is fly swatter. I've just started working on it. I haven't made any attempts yet. I was just about to create the solution file for it. Yeah, it was. Anyway, I'll do that and I'll post it in another video. So see you guys next time. Yes, bye.